David Stern, a former US Marine, lives in the Israeli settlement of Itamar in the West Bank with his family. He moved from the US in 2002. Here he shows the bullet-hit kippah he was wearing in May when he was shot by a Palestinian as he and his wife drove through the nearby town of Hawara. Stern returned fire and injured the man.
The term settler violence is now a major headline in the newspaper. I find that obscene. 6 months ago, my wife and I were attacked. I was shot 4 times. That's violence.
In December, the US and Britain announced visa bans for settlers implicated in attacks on Palestinians in the West Bank. Stern and pro-settler non-profits say that Israeli settlers are regular targets of Palestinian violence and that the international media too often emphasises Israeli settler attacks on Palestinians. Evidence presented by rights groups in the UN, however, indicates most of the violence is carried out by settlers. UN data shows that 659 Palestinians have been injured by settlers in the West Bank since the beginning of 2022, while 236 Israeli civilians have been injured in the same period. While the US is using the visa ban to press Israel to stop settler violence, many settlers say the Israeli government is not doing enough to protect them. VOA also travelled to the settlement of Har Bracha. Esti Yaniv, the mother of 2 Israeli soldiers killed in an attack this year in Hawara, described some settlers' mindsets since October 7th.
We pray that the government will now understand that we actually need to fight everyone who rises up to kill us.
Settlers are those Israelis who moved to the Israeli-occupied West Bank after the end of the Six-Day War in 1967. International law says a nation cannot settle lands it occupies. Naomi Khan, the international director for the pro-settler non-profit Regavim, says Israel has an unparalleled right to settle the lands. She contends that the UN's and rights groups' data does not give a true picture and that Israeli authorities could provide data to prove there is more Palestinian violence towards settlers. She explains why she believes Israel withholds such information.
The Israeli authorities don't like to share data about Jewish violence because it's not nice. And we don't like it, and we discourage it. We don't want to encourage it, we don't want copycats, we don't want whatever.
Khan went on to say the Israeli government should release the data. VOA contacted the Israeli government to ask why the data was not made public. They responded saying that according to information provided by the police in the West Bank, settler violence against Palestinians in the West Bank has decreased by 40% since October 7th. This runs counter to the UN and rights groups, which say settler violence against Palestinians has risen dramatically since October 7th. Meanwhile, Stern says his motivations for settling in the West Bank are ideological as well as pragmatic, and he maintains that anyone suggesting Jews shouldn't live in the West Bank is hypocritical and anti-Semitic. We asked Stern if he would live in a West Bank controlled by a Palestinian government.
I would never live under an Arab Palestinian state. I would never trust our security to the corrupt, murderous organizations.
According to a 2017 study, Israeli Americans like Stern make up 15% of settlers, a disproportionately high number compared with those from other countries. Henry Wilkins, VOA News, Itamar, the West Bank.